So thanks so much, Julie, for being here. Julie Mach, she's the owner and founder of Elements Mountain Compost in Salida. Is it Salida or Salida, Colorado?
Valida.
Salida. And has been working on rural organic waste diversion since 2014. She's a USCC certified compost operations manager. She also serves as the treasurer on the Recycle Colorado Board of Directors and is the regional sustainability contractor for Chaffee County in Colorado. She's worked in environmental conservation since 2009, previously serving as the Chief Conservation Officer for the Colorado Mountain Club. She holds a BS from Allegheny College, and when not working, she can be found exploring the backcountry by bike or skis, which sounds super fun. So passing it off to you now, Julie. Thanks for being here and sharing your expertise with us, and you can share your screen now.
Great. Perfect. Thanks, Jorge. Let me get the screen share going. Can you all see that okay?
Yep, there it is.
Perfect. Great. Well, thanks everyone for having me again. My name is Julie Mach in Elements Mountain Compost out in central Colorado. If you're not familiar with this state, we are located kind of right in the middle in a high alpine valley at about 7,000 feet above sea level. And we serve kind of the surrounding area. We are the only compost hauler and processor in about a 75-mile radius, which in some directions is like a 2-mile drive over mountain passes. So we've got a big territory that we serve, again, both hauling organics and processing. But we've got a fairly small population that we serve. The county that we're in, Chaffee County, has about 20,000 residents, and our entire service area is only maybe 150, 200,000 residents total. So it's a large geographic area with a kind of small population, but our goal really is to be able to provide organics processing for this rural part of the state that wouldn't have it otherwise. Just to note, we primarily are processing food waste and yard waste. We do accept BPI certified compostable products as well, and I'll talk more about that. We do not do any animal manure or biosolids, mainly because of the way that we're permitted by the state of Colorado. So talk about our kind of hauling processes, which is kind of the focus of today's talk. We actually started with commercial collection, which I think is the opposite of a lot of small composters that are sort of working in similar communities. But we wanted to get kind of the most bang for our buck as far as volume. We do work with restaurants, grocery stores, schools, and we provide a weekly service. We're mostly using 64-gallon toter bins, but we do some 32s as well. And, really have had good interest from the local businesses here. It is not a requirement for anyone to compost in our area, so it's all by choice. We try to keep our pricing low and competitive. But we've had pretty good participation in our local county. One thing I think that's a little bit unique is we are, again, serving areas that have pretty harsh winters. Our highest collection point's at about 9,000 feet, and we drive over a 12,000-foot pass to get to some of our customers. So every once in a while we'll take skis with us on our composting routes. That's mostly me. I'll get up early to do that. My drivers don't typically do that, but it's, it makes us have to be just sort of extra careful with the trucks that we're using or carrying chains, paying sort of special attention to tires and things like that. The other thing that we've found is, we're running into challenges with food waste freezing in our bins and getting kind of stuck at the bottom. We have found that using compostable liners seems to solve that problem. And we just get this, the picture in the center of kind of the compost popsicle that shoots out of the bins, and we have those liners. So that's been huge for us in being able to still serve those customers like ski resorts and just other customers who are operating in really cold climates throughout the winter. We also have a residential collection program. We just started a curbside pilot this spring. We have it in a pretty limited geography, so just one of the towns that we work in that has kind of a higher density population. And we do the 5-gallon bucket. We do require that our clients use a liner, again, because of the freezing issue in the winter, but also just for cleanliness. It really helps just keep the buckets tidy and we don't have to deal with washing or getting complaints about smelly buckets. Prior to starting the curbside program, we've been running a drop-off program for the last 5 years or so. We have a couple of different types of enclosures that we use. Some are actually just dog kennels that we put a lock on, and then folks get a code and can drop off kind of 24/7 at those different locations. We also serve homeowners associations and multi-unit housing complexes, apartments, things like that. In those cases, we're typically just providing a commercial bin and that weekly pickup like we would for any restaurant or grocery store. We accept yard waste as well, but we are mainly requiring folks to drop that off at our facility just because it becomes a little too much for our drivers to manage when they're en route. The volume is super variable here. We get a lot of yard waste in the fall and not much the rest of the year. We also do event collections, everything from small events that we will staff locally, things like weddings and conferences. We allow folks to rent bins from us, and then if they need help with managing contamination and sorting and stuff like that, we can provide it in-house. For larger events, we do, music festivals, race series, things like that, up to 10 to 15,000 attendees at some of these events. In those cases, we're typically relying on another partner, either volunteer green team or paid staff to do the sorting and management. So in those cases, we're just dropping a big roll-off container and picking it up at the end of the weekend. Again, we're, getting a ton of compostables at these events, primarily some food waste, but mostly compostable products. We do a little bit of distribution and sales of eco products and eco-safe bags to some of these event vendors. And again, that kind of helps us close the loop and make sure that the items that are going to be coming back to our composting facility are actually BPI certified and items that we want to take and know that are going to compost well. As you can see, obviously, when you get a big load of primarily event waste, it's mostly the compostables. So we do have to do some work around sort of managing these at our site, making sure we have enough just other food waste and liquid material to kind of balance out the big influxes of large amounts of compostables. I won't talk a ton about our processing systems, but we just use a turned windrow processing at our facility. We're on about 2.5 acres. And right now we're processing between 500 and 700 tons a year with capacity to expand that quite a bit. Just quickly, I want to talk about a couple of sort of local laws that have impacted the way that we are collecting and communicating about compostables. Colorado passed a Compost Labeling Act, I believe 1.5 years ago. Which requires some labeling, certification through a third-party certifier like BPI, and then some restrictions around kind of confusing terminology that's not allowed on the products anymore. So terms like biodegradable or plant-based cannot be marked on products because they are essentially confusing the consumer into thinking that they might be compostable. So it's helped a ton just in clarity and communicating with our customers. It makes it easy for our staff to spot contamination. And we're seeing way fewer of kind of the lookalikes, the tinted green bags that are not actually compostable. So that's helping a ton in, just clarifying what is and isn't compostable and what we can and cannot accept at our facility. We do a little bit of compostables testing at our facility too, which I think is key for any composter who's looking to take compostable products. And we just went through a process with Eunomia this past spring to test a number of different products. You can see cups and bowls and even fruit stickers, which was, I think, super interesting. And so, excited to be a part of that kind of testing process to again close the loop and make sure we're super comfortable with the products that we're accepting, and we're helping, with the certification process for some of these products. Just some pictures of the testing and kind of how it worked at our facility, looking at various doses of those compostable products in different piles to see how well they degraded. And there are the fruit stickers that I mentioned. Anybody else is a composter out there, you'll also be excited to know that these could be on the horizon. The last thing I wanted to talk about is a new law in Colorado that's just starting to go into effect next year. Colorado passed an extended producer responsibility bill. This is mostly focused on traditional recyclables. So companies that make packaging, whether it's cardboard or aluminum cans or compostable products, will pay into a fund, and that fund will then be distributed to processors and haulers to help deal with that recycling. They included composting and compostable products in our EPR law, which is great, and we're still kind of learning exactly how the funds are going to be rolled out. Right now, the anticipation is looking like composters who accept compostable products, compostable packaging, will be eligible for reimbursement. One thing that was left out of our law that I would recommend others consider if they're looking at EPR is haulers were not, compost haulers were not included as sort of eligible for reimbursement. But I think it's really important to note that the haulers are absolutely key in helping to reduce contamination and make sure that the stream, if it includes compostables, is super clean. So, they're the ones on the front lines communicating with vendors or residents or commercial operations. So, again, for folks who are looking to implement EPR in their states, I would highly recommend making sure haulers are included in that reimbursement component. So wanted to add my contact information. If anybody has questions about what we do out in Colorado, please don't hesitate to reach out, and I'll pass it back to Jorge.
Thanks so much, Julie. That was great. Have you ever had to use those skis to escape from whiteout or anything?
Oh, no, not usually. Like we plan our routes around the weather for sure, if there's a big storm, but mostly just for fun.
Nice. That's great. Well, thanks so much, Julie. We'll get to questions after every